Patricia is asking a question about a very confusing topic about canonical tags and canonical URLs. And she has a problem where the client doesn't understand it, the developer is unclear on it, and she's trying to coach everybody on what even the problem is, let alone how to solve it. Does that about sum it up?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So it sounds to me like what's happening on this website for the homepage is that the homepage has is one URL, and the canonical tag is set to be example.com/16/home.htm or something like that.
Yeah.
But when you try to access 16/home.htm, it actually redirects to example.com.
Correct. And when you look at the source,
Yeah.
it says canonical equals that /16/home HTML.
Okay. So just to be clear, you are able to view the domain example.com.
Correct.
And when you view the source code on example.com, the canonical tag is not set to example.com. It's set to example.com/16/home.htm.
Correct.
Okay, great.
And
So,
to add a little bit mix, I don't know if this matters,
yeah.
but this also has a the site is not responsive, and there's also a separate M dot for the mobile, which is done the same way, but I don't know that impacts their answer, but just so you know, there's like basically two sites and it's done the same way.
Right. So we'll get there eventually, but let's just talk about the main site, Canonical. So a canonical tag is an invisible tag in the source code that tells Google if you visit this page and can view it from any other permutation of URL. I want you, Google, to consider this page actually whatever is within the canonical tag. So in this case, what's happening is whenever Google gets to the home page of this website we're calling example.com, Google reads the page and sees a canonical tag in there. It goes, oh, okay. So whatever is on the top of the URL, Google, the canonical tag is saying, forget about that. Instead, I want you to consider the real version of this page to be example.com/16.htm. So what happens is we are sending to Google a contradictory message. One is, hey, you landed on example.com. And you would think that that would be the main homepage for the site, right? It's not always. Like, there's all reasons why it wouldn't be. But we're saying, Google, hey, forget about that example.com exists. Instead, we want you to consider 16/home.htm, the actual canonical or official version of the page. Okay. So the implications are this, is that theoretically Google should not index or send people to example.com. However, it should say, whenever someone asks for this website, the homepage of the website, it should send them to 16/home.html of this domain. However, there's a redirect setup. So Google and nobody can actually ever get to 16/home.htm. So Google says, wait, you want me to forget about the homepage, and you want me to send everybody to 16.html or home.html, but you don't let me get there, right? So this is what we'd find in Search Console is probably a message saying something like canonical tag not selected, or not, I forget how they phrase it in Search Console, But if you have access to the Search Console data, it's worth looking in there.
Okay,
Because
I do.
basically
So,
Google's going to say, you want me to go here, but you won't let me go there. So I'm going to not consider the canonical tag.
okay. So,
Right.
yeah.
So that probably means is that Google is ignoring the canonical tag in this case because it can't even get to that page. Okay. However, we don't want that confusion. We want one and one only version of the homepage. So we really want to go in and update the canonical tag to reflect the true homepage, which is whatever, example.com.
Example.com.
Right.
So the weird thing is when I put in example.com in Redirect Detective,
Right.
because that's where I was kind of looking.
Yeah.
It shows me, let me get back to where I was doing. Let me make sure that I'm just pulling up to make sure it's going a little bit slow. So example.com, it says it is a permanent redirect.
Okay. 301 redirect.
Yeah. Let me try this again because I think I'm confusing myself. So I put in the page that actually comes up, which is example.com. I put that into Redirect Detective. And it says there's a 301 permanent redirect to the example.com/16/home, that's the final destination.
Oh, interesting.
So I guess the thing is, even though when
humans get to redirect to the home page, but bots are not.
Yeah, is that what's happened? Because you know, when I actually go to example.com, that page comes up even though it's not the canonical.
Right.
And when I put it in a Redirect Detective, that's been permanently redirected to this home.htm. But when you go to that, let me see if I go to that home. When I go to the canonical, it actually brings up the example.com. It's very confusing, and I'm not.
So let me pause you for a moment here.
Okay.
Enter in, take whatever the canonical full URL is and put that into Redirect Detective. What do you go to?
Okay, let me put that
So
in.
Redirect Detective is a redirectdetective.com. It's a free redirect checker that will show you the path that any redirects may pass through. It's super helpful when diagnosing these things.
This is very bizarre. It says no redirects found.
There you go.
But when I go, let me try and just make sure.
No, you're not crazy.
So but when I click and go to that,
I know.
it goes back. Okay, so what does that mean? That's like what's confusing me so much.
Okay, so here's probably what's going on. So there are several ways you can redirect a page. And when we say redirect, it's when means you ask the browser to go here and it sends you there. Okay. And so we can do that on the server side, which is the server that hosts the web files can say, I want to go here instead of here. And that is usually done in Nginx or the htaccess file, and can basically is a 301 or a 302 or a 307 or a 305 or whatever redirect. And so that's what Redirect Detective is picking up, those server redirects. However, there's an old school way of doing redirects, which is called a JavaScript redirect.
Okay.
A JavaScript redirect is in the JavaScript code on a page and saying, okay, you viewed this page, but I'm going to send you to this page. And so what's either happening is there's a JavaScript redirect, which Redirect Detective cannot follow, which is why you don't want JavaScript redirects.
Okay.
Google does not respect JavaScript redirects. So in other words, it is set up right for Google, ironically, because Google, well, actually nowadays Google can follow the JavaScript redirect. It didn't used to, but now it does. It's just not a good practice for SEO. So Google Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. So that's why you are experiencing going one place and the redirect detective is saying, no, it's going to another. Okay. Which actually ends up making it a worse problem for Google, because then Google says, oh, canonical tag, the server is telling me to go here, which is the same as the canonical tag, but there's also detecting a JavaScript redirect, and it can follow that. So that means Google's getting a contradictory message.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to avoid. So there are many ways or reasons why someone might have done this. The JavaScript redirect probably was just to make it clean, because no one wants to go to view a page on the home page called 16/home.htm. Right? And so the developer fixed it, but they didn't fix it in a Google friendly way. So someone who didn't know would say, oh yeah, it works. It goes to example.com. But in reality, what we're doing is and again, this JavaScript redirect was probably set up at a time when Google didn't respect JavaScript redirects.
I believe because
that's consistent with this whole mobile
it's
website.
saying that it's been like this since 2011.
Yep, that's ancient history in the web world.
Well, that was when I saw that, I'm like, whoo, that was a long time ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Technology has changed significantly.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Like
Google has definitely
more responsive websites in 2011.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the question becomes, how worth it is fixing this?
How worth it, and how would you fit? Like, what would the fix be?
So the fact is, the way the website was built, it might have to be there.
I think that you might be right.
I'm pulling from like ancient website building history, that you sometimes you would do is you would create the structure of files and folders and stuff like that, and then you lay upon it the friendliness. And that's kind of what's going on here.
Yeah.
So it because of that, and the mobile site problem, which we've talked about in the past, which is ideally you don't manage two sites. You have one website. Sorry. You have two websites. You have one website that renders the same for mobile and desktop. Because right now in the Google climate, 13 years after this website's built, the algorithm is mobile first. So it's not even looking necessarily at the main homepage. It's looking at M-dot.
Which is doing the same exact thing.
Right. So Search Console is your friend here, because it's telling you what Google is, how Google is interpreting this site.
Okay.
So what I would do is go in the Search Console and type in the homepage that you view, example.com, in the search bar at the top.
Yes.
And this is a great tip for anybody who's like, I wonder what Google thinks of my page. You can literally in Search Console just type in any URL that you have permission to view, right? That's why you verify Search Console, and see what it says. Can you do that for us and tell us what it says?
Yes, if I can.
To do it without the 16.
Here, I had to find it in Google Search Console because it was in there a little bit.
Well, all you got to do is at the very top, there's a search box, and you can enter your URL in there.
Okay. Now, am I doing just example.com, or am I doing the full? The example with the HTML?
Well, no, in this case, do it without the 16 HTML, but
okay. So just the regular. Okay.
We're trying to avoid using the client's domain name to avoid their embarrassment.
It says URL is not on Google. Page is not indexed. Page with redirect.
There you go.
So what?
Okay. So the home page is not indexed without the 16 home.htm. So now add 16 home.htm to HTM and see what happens.
Okay. URL is on Google, page
Good.
is indexed.
Good.
So, okay.
Does it say, it usually should say something about how it found it, like referring page?
Yes, it has a page on Squarespace. It's unusual.
Okay, that's fine.
It says referring page and it has two. It has one page on Squarespace and then it has the HTTP, no S, www.example.com. That's it.
Right. So that's the canonical tag. I'm sorry, that's not the canonical tag.
Correct.
Yeah, because no, never forget about the canonical tag for a second.
Okay.
Yeah, so the homepage is indexed.
Mm-hmm.
People can find it. It's just a weird URL. And if someone types in example.com, they will get to view the homepage.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not ideal.
Okay.
So it's now the only thing I would worry about in this case. I mean, this is not ideal. It should be cleaned up, but it's probably not a priority for cleaning up because Google's able to index it.
Yeah. So I
right?
guess to me, basically, as far as like SEO, while it's not ideal, it sounds like it's working now. And the only thing to probably do is if they look at redoing their website in the future to use a platform that is up to date. Is
Right.
that okay?
It's probably not built on a platform, to be honest. It's probably custom.
Probably part of the message was that you know how the platform is coded. This is how the canonical URLs are created and specified.
Yep, exactly.
So
and the fact is, it's got a HTML file. That's a file TLD,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that means there's probably a directory number 16 that contains a home.html file.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And that HTML file is where the actual content of the page is. There's probably it's probably something like that.
And it's interesting. It says crawled as Googlebot smartphone. So they're finding.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So then do m.example.com/16/ Do they have an SSL certificate on the site?
Oh, let me hold on. Let me do this because it didn't come up right. And I'm thinking, oh, you know what? When they gave this to me, they did not give it to me with DNS. They did it by property. And so it's saying you don't have access to this.
Right, there you go.
Okay. And I just, that was why I had a hard time finding it when I was first looking in it because it wasn't in order. Yeah. Or it looked weird. So yeah, I'd want to.
So that's a good reason why, and a friendly reminder to all of us.
Yes.
We want the full data of the full site. If we verify Search Console on a registrar level, we would have been able to get to the m.dot version of this site.
Yeah. So I always ask.
Without it, all we can get is the version of the site with or without HTTPS, with or without www. So what we don't know is how does Google interpret the non-www version?
Yes.
Or the m.dot version, or the SSL, or the without the SSL. So that's why using the server verification with Search Console gives us a fuller picture, because Google has indexed this, but because the smartphone, well, we don't know if the smartphone feature is even working, frankly, because we can't see if Google's even able to index the m.dot.
Yeah.
It could be smartphones are being sent to the main site and is not responsive, very hard to read.
Ah, okay.
But until we have the DNS.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually I have a call with them on Friday, and this was one where we were working on Google Tag Manager as well. So I'm gonna put this on my list to do while I'm screen sharing and just can get it done for them. Okay.
Right.
So
in other words, the short version is not ideal, but probably not worth fixing because it's basically inherent in the site and Google can read the homepage.